My wife cheated openly on our anniversary. The divorce was just the beginning of my shocking revenge. Reflecting on my past, I could never have predicted the unexpected paths my life would take. In my younger days, I was so certain about everything, filled with confidence and optimism. I was just starting out, full of dreams, hardly even considering the possibility of setbacks. My aspirations were straightforward but genuine: a loving family, a successful career, and perhaps some adventure along the way. I was a humble person, rarely seeking attention but always giving my best. Even as life's challenges started to emerge, I believed hard work and dedication could overcome any obstacle. Meeting Jennifer was like the beginning of a movie I never expected to star in. She entered my life quietly, without much fuss, but her impact was profound. From that moment, everything seemed to center on building a future together. Our relationship was built on what I believed was mutual respect, trust, and a love that could withstand any hardship. I immersed myself in my career, always aiming to give her the best life possible. But as time passed, subtle changes began eroding the foundation we had built, and the life I had carefully constructed started to unravel in ways I never foresaw. I was at my desk, staring at the computer, when Jennifer walked in. It was becoming a habit, her returning late from work without much explanation. It was nearly 10 p.m., and the kids had eaten, done their homework, and gone to bed long before they no longer asked about her absence, which deeply troubled me. The kids had adjusted to her late arrivals, and honestly, so had I. As I went over our finances, I couldn't ignore the reality any longer. In the past 2 years, our financial situation had taken a serious downturn. Our income had dropped significantly, yet Jennifer remained seemingly oblivious, spending as if nothing had changed. After paying the last of the bills, I calculated we could barely scrap by for another couple of months. I don't know how long she stood there looking at me. Lately, I'd been losing myself in my thoughts more often, sometimes losing track of time. Finally, with her arms crossed and that all too familiar look of contempt, she spoke. "Michael, I want a divorce." I'm not sure what I felt at that moment. My mind was so weighed down with doubt and self-loathing that I was nearly numb to new emotions. It wasn't exactly funny, but I still had to stifle a laugh. My wife of 17 years just told me it's over, that everything we built together would soon be torn apart. I hadn't felt this kind of emotion in a long time, and it almost made me smile. Relief washed over me as I stole a brief glance at her, savoring one final moment of our happier times together before grounding myself back in reality. "Fine," I said. I'd always been better at programming than managing, but programmers get promoted to project managers, then department heads, and eventually senior management. That's how I ended up as a senior product development manager. It was just a fancy title for a salesman. At the time, I was the most qualified for the role. I had nearly single-handedly created our flagship product line. I'd nurtured it from its infancy and developed it through 6 upgrades. I knew the product better than anyone. When clients had questions, I had answers. When employees had issues, I knew how to solve them. With a new haircut and inexpensive suit, I looked the part. The pay raise and benefits with the promotion didn't hurt either. I'd say I was mostly satisfied with my job, but I loved programming and missed it a lot. In my role, I simply didn't have the opportunity. There were too many meetings and calls to get back to lines of code. I was forced to watch a new generation of bright-eyed employees try to outdo each other with their latest developments. I won't lie, being the boss had its perks, but I always wished my responsibilities were a bit different. It wasn't surprising when I was fired from Chicago Technology Solutions. In their place, I would have done the same. My attendance at meetings was sporadic at best, and I'd missed too many deadlines. At the time, I hadn't tried to get fired, but I hadn't exactly fought to keep my job either. After leaving CTS, I was in a deep depression for months. It took me nearly 3 months to crawl out of it and try to move forward. But this didn't exactly end in success either. It took me another month to find a way out of the mess I'd landed in, or at least one I could live with. I might have lost my mind if it weren't for the kids. Their consistent routine helped me regain some balance. Breakfast, school, snacks, homework, dinner, sleep. Breakfast, school, snacks, homework, dinner, bed. This routine became my mantra, helping me find my way again. I threw myself into life as a stay-at-home dad, taking on all the housework and taxi duties. The kids genuinely enjoyed having me home, and it reminded me that I had value. I wasn't entirely useless. If my wife noticed these changes in our family dynamic, she never mentioned it. I'm pretty sure she didn't even see it. I met Jennifer Riley at a frat party even though I almost didn't go. I had joined the fraternity for the connections it might bring after college, not for the parties during it. I figured I'd need every advantage I could get. Academically, I was doing well, so that wasn't an issue. But in every other way, I was just average. My height, weight, looks, personality, all average. Even my name, Michael, was the most common name from 1961 to 1988. Completely average. To be honest, away from the computer, there wasn't much that stood out about me. Dating, I went on a few dates. Relationships, not really. I was pretty good at being on my own even in my senior year of college until I saw Jennifer Riley. Jennifer was almost as ordinary as I was, but I noticed that the average woman tends to look better. She was a bit reserved, and I watched her for quite a while before I got the nerve to talk to her. Our first interaction was brief and quiet, but we got to know each other over the next few weeks. We met for coffee, studied together in the library, and after nearly 2 months, we had our first real date. From that moment, the most incredible time in my life began. 15 years of happiness. Our courtship was short and our engagement even shorter. Right after graduation, we got married and moved into our first apartment in Chicago. We commuted together on the morning and evening trains to our first jobs, barely scraping by but happy to be together. We had so much in common: family stories, dating experiences, shared interests, and similar goals. Where we didn't match, we complemented each other. If I couldn't handle something, Jennifer could. If she had a weakness, it was one of my strengths. I managed our finances well, while Jennifer excelled at keeping our social and family schedules in order. We worked as a team, and over the next few years, our lives steadily improved. We both received several promotions, our friend circle expanded, and we saved enough to buy our first home, allowing us to travel and enjoy life. Our physical relationship started out just like the rest of our relationship. Slowly, we'd held hands and kissed since our first date and moved to more intimate affection once we were exclusive. We were both virgins until the night we got engaged. Since then, our passion grew along with our success. Jennifer left her job 8 years later when our son Jacob was born. A little over a year later, our daughter Emily arrived. Yes, I know their names were the most popular at the time. It had become a family tradition. We bought a 3-bedroom house in the suburbs with space for a dog, a family sedan, and a minivan. Life was going well at 2 kids, a pet, a house, and 2 cars. All pretty standard. I didn't think I could be any happier. I was wrong. My promotion to manager came shortly after Emily's first birthday, almost like a reward for years of quiet dedication in the middle class. My new salary wasn't anything extraordinary, but we weren't complaining. I had a flexible schedule and mostly worked from home, only going to the office for meetings. They say money can't buy happiness, and I believe that's true, but it can buy nicer clothes and grooming, better healthcare, a new home and a nicer neighborhood, and a boost of confidence. I went from average to slightly above average. My wife went from what I thought was beautiful to something undeniably attractive. Our bad life, which I'd always considered good, reached new heights. We traveled more and spent more time with the kids while saving steadily for retirement. When Emily started elementary school, Jennifer decided she wanted to go back to work part-time. She quickly landed a role she was excited about at a new marketing firm. She worked around the kids' school schedule, finishing her day when it was time to pick them up. This was the cherry on top. We didn't need her income, so we saved it. I calculated that by the time the kids graduated college, we'd be able to retire comfortably. I found out my wife was cheating on me by accident 3 months before our 15th anniversary. It happened on my birthday, or rather, I discovered the clues 2 days before my birthday without realizing it. It took weeks for me to piece everything together. I didn't think much of her wanting to take on a bigger role at work, which meant a few extra hours a week. I started picking up the kids more, and that was fine by me. After a few months, when I noticed she seemed more distracted, I asked her about it. She said she was just stressed from trying to fit in at work, so I took on more around the house to ease her burden. When our once passionate bed life began to wane, we talked about it. She said she was getting older and didn't need as much as before. For a few weeks, our closeness picked up, but then it faded again. I avoided bringing it up again, afraid of starting an argument. I was nearly at my breaking point when I found the gift. The weather had gotten colder and I was looking for one of my sweaters. Since I had taken over the laundry duties, I sometimes got mixed up about where my clothes went. While sorting through sweaters in her closet, I noticed Ida tucked behind some old shoe boxes. It was hard to miss. A pink box with the white ribbon from the lingerie store. The card, addressed to my beloved, got my heart racing. A small battle of thoughts flashed through my mind. Should I look? Should I wait? I wondered. I decided to peek. I wasn't sure I could wait until my birthday to open my wife's gift. After reading the card, I felt both thrilled and uneasy. It read, "Please forgive the packaging this gift came in. You can unwrap the real gift on your birthday when I wear what's in the box. Love, Jennifer." Over the next 2 days, I went out of my way to show Jennifer extra affection. I brought her flowers, gave her foot massages, cooked her favorite meals. I expected excitement or at least appreciation, but instead, she reacted like I was just mildly annoying her. When my birthday arrived, I made sure everything was perfect. The homework done early, house cleaned, kids settled so nothing would interrupt our night. I was surprised when she came home late, more so when she casually asked, "What's for dinner?" I smiled and said, "We're going out for pizza." The kids loved it. I had secretly arranged with the restaurant to bring out a birthday surprise, and the staff sang to me at the end of our meal. I thought I saw a flash of surprise in Jennifer's eyes, but she quickly masked it. "I'll give you your gift later, Michael," she said with a smile. The drive home was tense. I almost caused an accident from how anxious I was. I waited for the kids to fall asleep. Those 15 minutes felt like an eternity. Jennifer had gone out for milk and came back just as the kids were asleep. I hurried upstairs. She wasn't in the bedroom. A few minutes later, she came out of the bathroom, a broken bar in a flannel nightgown, no makeup, hair tied back. I sat there, confused and disappointed. "So, when do I get my gift?" I asked. She climbed into bed, pulled up the covers, and reached into the nightstand. "Oh, almost forgot," she said. She handed me a tiny box wrapped in balloon paper. "Happy birthday, honey," she said and rolled over to sleep. I was too stunned to even open it. The next morning, I still hadn't opened the box. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Over the following 2 weeks, I spiraled into a deep sadness. I kept replaying my birthday, trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. That unopened gift sat there like a symbol of everything that had gone wrong. I'd always thought the cliché tilde copyright had a husband is the last to know. It was just that, a cliché tilde copyright. But now it hit me differently. 13 days after my birthday, Jennifer called during the day. "I'll be late tonight. It's Alan's 30th birthday, and the team is throwing him a party." I don't even remember how I replied. All I know is I ended up staring at the spot where the lingerie box had been. My chest tightened, and for a moment, I thought I might be having a heart attack. I honestly wished I was. Anything to escape the mess I was in. My daughter's voice jolted me back to reality. "Are you okay, Dad?" I nodded. "Yeah, sweetie. Daddy just doesn't feel great. I'll be out in a minute." I don't remember much after that except grabbing an old bottle of scotch. Based on the hangover the next day, I'd had more than a few glasses. Jennifer acted like nothing happened. She made breakfast, chatted with the kids. The only sign that something was off was the slight tremble in her hand when she sat down. That tiny detail made me realize I didn't love her anymore. I didn't confront her. I was broken, emotionally paralyzed. Days turned into weeks. I felt like a ghost watching someone else live my life. The weekend of our 15th anniversary finally pushed me out of my daze. I realized I'd been living like a coward, just silently accepting everything instead of doing something. My father would have called it exactly that. Cowardice. Then Jennifer told me she had a work conference that weekend on our anniversary. She didn't even acknowledge the date. That stung more than I expected. She had no idea what day it even was. I spent the night drinking alone, wallowing in my misery. But the next morning, I woke up with a different feeling. Anger. I picked up the phone and called a divorce lawyer. I was ready to end it, but I had no idea just how badly things were about to go for me. At the lawyer's office, I was hit with the brutal truth. I had no proof of Jennifer's cheating, and even if I did, it wouldn't matter. The state laws said marital property would still be split 50-50. Since I had a higher income, I'd likely pay alimony and child support. She'd probably keep the house and get primary custody. I left the office devastated. I felt betrayed, foolish, and powerless. That's when the anger really took root. A few weeks after that, Jennifer casually asked me, "You don't look well, Michael. Is something wrong?" "No, darling," I replied with a smile. At least she pretended to care. I kept drifting through each day, until I lost my job. And strangely, a broken bar. That was the best thing that could have happened to me. One evening, I was watching the news, story after story of people losing everything. Then something caught my attention. A company on the East Coast went bankrupt, and employees lost their pensions and final paychecks. One analyst said, even if they sue and win, the money's already gone. That's when the idea hit me. If I had nothing, Jennifer couldn't take anything from me. Sure, I'd be hurting myself, a broken bar, but I was going to lose half anyway. I figured, what's the point in saving what I'm just going to watch her walk away with? So I started my scorched earth plan. First, I stopped looking for work. I told her I needed time to reset. Then, I slowly began draining our savings intentionally. 2 years is a long time to plan revenge, and I had plenty of time. Most of those 2 years, I spent alone. Jennifer had always been the social one, and once she withdrew from the family, I realized how few real friends I had. I was an only child. My parents had passed when I was young. There was no one left, just me and the kids. To buy time and distract myself, I enrolled in an executive MBA program at a local university. It cost almost $120,000 upfront. I bought a new luxury SUV, $60,000 gone. I maxed out our kids' college funds, another $260,000. I upgraded my entire wardrobe, started withdrawing cash regularly, and kept up appearances. Twice a week, I'd drop the kids off, go to the bank, then stop by a casino, not to gamble, just to make it look like I was. I'd save receipts, pocket the cash, and store it all in a hidden safe in the garage. That money was my lifeline, my emergency stash for after the divorce. Then came the surveillance. I hired a private investigator to follow Jennifer and document everything, videos, photos, her routine. It wasn't cheap, but I wanted the truth. What I learned was worse than I imagined. She wasn't just cheating with her boss, there were others, co-workers, clients, a broken bar, 7 men in total. I wasn't surprised anymore, just numb. At first, I thought maybe she and her boss had something meaningful. But the more I learned, the more I realized it was all shallow, casual hookups. Even her main guy, Alan, her boss, wasn't anything special. He just happened to be convenient. After a while, I stopped checking the investigators' updates. I had enough. Instead, I started focusing on my own recovery. I built a daily routine, workouts, cooking for the kids, learning new tech tools, brushing up on my skills. I'd been away from programming for too long. It was time to get back to it. I even started looking into my old company, CTS. They were stagnating, not losing ground, but definitely not growing. And in tech, if you're not moving forward, you're falling behind. I also spent a lot of time researching divorce law, especially how it affects kids. My kids were my everything. I wanted to be prepared when the time came. Around 8 months in, something unexpected happened at a broken bar. Jennifer started acting differently. She came home on time. She started talking to me again. She even dressed up at night, trying to rekindle our intimacy. I gave her nothing. Then one day, she said, "We don't talk anymore. Maybe we should try counseling." I didn't argue. I didn't even respond. Just silence. That silence said more than words ever could. Her birthday came a few weeks later. I had a plan. I wrapped her gift in the exact same balloon paper she'd used for my birthday gift years earlier, the one that came with false promises and a cheap surprise. Inside the box, a $9.95 women's digital watch from a gas station. The same kind of gift she once gave me and never bothered to replace. I didn't stick around to see her reaction. That night, the kids and I went to a late movie and got home after noon the next day. She was already gone. After that, things returned to our new normal. Jennifer stayed late at work again. We barely exchanged words, until finally she stood in the doorway and said, "Michaela Broken Bar, I want a divorce." I had been waiting for this moment for 2 years. I said nothing for a while, just looked at her. She almost looked confused, like she expected a fight, but I simply nodded. Okay. A week later, I got her divorce proposal. I laughed reading it. She wanted full custody, the house, alimony, child support, and she accused me of mental cruelty. I gave her until Monday to withdraw it. Then I took the kids on a camping trip. When we came back, she was home, sitting alone in the living room. She looked terribly like a ghost of the woman I once loved. The fun was just beginning. Officially filed for divorce on the grounds of infidelity. I requested full custody of the kids, the house, and even child and spousal support. Why? Because I'd been unemployed and the primary caregiver for the past 2 years. But I didn't stop there. I sued all 7 of her affair partners for alienation of affection. I didn't expect to win, but the lawsuits were allowed in our state, and I wanted to make things painful. Then I filed civil suits against her employer and some of their clients for creating an environment that facilitated inappropriate conduct. Just to drive the point home, a broken bar, I burned copies of the surveillance footage to DVDs and mailed them to her parents and her closest friends. When the kids went upstairs that night, I grabbed a beer and sat down across from her in silence. She looked up eventually, eyes red. "You're going to ruin me," she whispered. I took a sip, met her gaze, and calmly replied, "I really hope so." She asked me, "Do you hate me that much?" "No," I said. "Hate takes effort. I don't waste effort on you anymore. My energy goes to my kids and myself." She tried to argue. "I'm still your wife." "No," I cut her off. "My wife was kind, loyal, and loving. That woman's gone. You're just someone who looks like her." She was speechless. "What am I supposed to do now?" She finally asked. "You can move far away and start over. That's your best shot, because I won't let you near our children again." After that night, the legal storm began, and to everyone's surprise, even my lawyers, I didn't just survive. I won. 3 of the companies involved in her affair settled quickly, paying me over $1 million combined just to avoid the bad press. Jennifer's employer, I buried them through discovery, depositions, and a few anonymous tips to the media. I made sure the story got out. I even emailed a summary of the evidence to their biggest clients. Slowly but surely, their contracts dried up, employees started jumping ship, and eventually the company folded. Alan Henderson, her boss, was fired. He disappeared quietly. I got $200,000 out of that case alone, a small amount compared to the satisfaction. I didn't win the alienation of affection suits, but it didn't matter. 4 of the men's wives ended up divorcing them anyway. Of course, this all came at a cost. My name became gossip. Whispers followed me. Some admired me, others mocked me. I didn't care. I only cared about the kids, and they were okay. It took time, but they bounced back. As for me, I rebuilt. I rejoined CTS, my old company, but this time as Vice President of Design and Development. I got back into programming, created an add-on that helped CTS integrate with competitors. Then I started a new company, sold it back to CTS for a hefty 7-figure deal, and secured my financial future. But even with money and success, I was alone. With my new wealth, I hired a wonderful older woman named Mrs. Jensen. She was warm, wise, and exactly what my kids and I needed. She moved into the guest apartment above the garage and became like a grandmother to them. She cooked, helped with school, offered advice, and brought real stability into our home. I loved my kids deeply, but I was also bitter, harsh, cold. Mrs. Jensen helped soften some of that. She stayed with us for 15 years, even after the kids left for college. I offered her the apartment rent-free as a kind of pension. She always encouraged me to open my heart again, to try dating, to live. But I couldn't. I never did. My friendships were shallow. I avoided people. I became a man known for being brilliant but icy. I never dated again unless you count a few dinners on escorts. One woman, Mary Beth, she went by Candy, stood out. She was warm and seemed to genuinely like me. But the moment she got too close, I let her go. I couldn't risk being hurt again. As for Jennifer, her life fell apart. She tried to reconnect with the kids, but I warned her not to. Every job she applied to, her reputation followed her. Every man she dated, I made sure they knew her past. I didn't care if they stayed. I just didn't want her rewriting history. Eventually, she gave up. She moved away. Last I heard, she was cleaning hotel rooms in a small Virginia town. I only saw Jennifer once more. 16 years later, at our daughter's wedding, the invitation surprised me. I assumed she'd come, but I didn't expect to see her looking all broken bar so different. She'd aged a lot, heavier, tired looking, sunken eyes, deeper lines around her mouth, a smoker now, apparently. But underneath all that, I still saw traces of the woman I once loved. I felt nothing for her. No anger, no love, just a broken bar recognition. She stayed quiet, kept her distance, sat at the back. Her interaction with our daughter was brief and formal. After the reception, I saw her waiting alone on the curb for a taxi. On her finger, a modest gold ring with a tiny diamond. I walked up to her and studied the ring, then looked at her. For the record, she said softly, "You ruined my life first." I glanced at her hand, then met her eyes. "I'm glad you found someone," I said. "I hope he makes you happy." And then I walked away. My driver greeted me. "Evening, Mr. Smith. Straight home or the club tonight?" "Just home, Jonathan. I'd rather be alone." As the car pulled away, I couldn't help but glance back through the window. She stood there, waving goodbye. The story of Michael Smith and Jennifer Riley had truly, finally ended.